Or in's world is the groan of log rollers and the sharp crack of a splitting leather. He stands on the half-finished wall, a man born in its shadow, and watches his people strained against a single, house-sized block of granite. Ropes of braided sinew, thick as his thigh, are stretched to their breaking point. The men heave, their grunts a rhythmic, percussive chant against the immense silence of the valley. This is the great work. For 3 generations, his people have been engaged in this singular act of defiance, this piece of impossible megalithic engineering. They are building a barrier against the sky. Orin's grandfather laid the first stone, his father the 1,000th. Orin's task, his entire life's purpose, is to set the last one, to finally close the gap and seal their home from heaven. The enemy does not walk on the earth, it descends. He remembers the last raid, 5 summers ago. A shadow falls from the sun, faster and larger than any cloud. Then the sound, a dry, rattling shriek that scrapes the inside of the skull. The Quetzalcoatlus is a creature of nightmare geometry, a spear-tipped head the size of a man, attached to a leathery wingspan that blots out the sun. It does not hunt with claws, but with a single, precise downward stab of its beak. Orin watched it plummet into the midst of the foraging party, impale a young hunter named Fend, and lift his struggling body into the air without even slowing its ascent. There was no battle, no fight. Just a shadow, a scream, and then nothing. They found Fend's spear a week later, miles away. That is why they build. Their enemy is not a beast they can fight, but a living spear thrown from the hand of a merciless god. These flying monsters, the true kings of the prehistoric world, have defined their existence. The wall is more than a defense, it is the clan's soul carved in stone. Every member has a role. The children gather smooth, round stones for the rollers. The women prepare the thick, clay-based mortar that fills the gaps. The men quarry, haul, and set the great stones, their bodies scarred and misshapen by a lifetime of Herculean labor. This is the apex of their primitive technology, an audacious gamble that muscle, leverage, and sheer stubbornness can reshape the world. They see the faces of their ancestors. They see the promise of a future where children can play in the open, where the sky is just the sky, not a hunting ground. This collective dream, this single-minded focus, is how these early humans have survived. They have traded the freedom of the plains for the security of this valley, and they are one stone away from making it a fortress. From his vantage point, Orin can see the final gap. It is no more than 30 paces wide. The stone they move now is one of the last lintels. The sun beats down, harder than he remembers for this time of year. The river, the lifeblood of their valley, seems to flow with less vigor, its edges receding from the banks. But they are too close to the end to notice. All of their energy, their focus, their hope, is on closing that final gap. Orin's gaze follows the massive, curving line of the wall as it snakes from one cliff face to the other, a man-made mountain range built to defy the dinosaurs of the air. It is beautiful. It is almost complete. And as he looks at the straining faces of his people, he feels a surge of pride so fierce it almost chokes him. They are winning. The rains do not come. The sun, once a life-giver, becomes a malevolent, white-hot eye in a cloudless sky. The concept of paleoclimatological is unknown to them, but they feel it in their bones. The elders search their memories, their entire oral history, for a story of a drought this long, this merciless, and find nothing. The great work grinds to a halt. The men, their bodies already taxed, are now dehydrated and weak. The sinew ropes like old and the dust like dead serpents. Their near victory has soured into a long, agonizing wait. The river, their only source of water, becomes their greatest fear. It does not flow, it seeps. The once clear water is now shallow, murky, and warm. Then the red sickness begins. It starts at the river's edge, a slimy, rust-colored carpet that smothers the stones. It spreads with unnatural speed, a crimson stain bleeding into the heart of their sanctuary. It carries a smell of rotten, stagnant life, a scent of decay that clings to the back of the throat. The fish are the first to die, floating to the surface, their silver bellies turned up to the brutal sun. The game animals, the herds of grazing heterosaurs that shared their valley. Either flee through the still open gap in the wall or die, their bodies found contorted near the riverbank. They are witnessing the slow, relentless logic of resource depletion. Their beautiful, protected valley is starving. A fever takes root in the clan. It begins with cramps that twist the gut, followed by a burning thirst that the poisoned water cannot quench, only worsen. The children are the most vulnerable. They lie on cool stones deep within the caves, their bodies limp, their cries weak. The healers crush herbs and make poultices, but their magic is for wounds of flesh and bone, not for an invisible poison that has infected the very soul of their home. Shiver with a fever that will not break understands the horrifying truth. This isn't a curse from an angry spirit. It's the water. The life-giver has become the death dealer. This is the intelligence point of their chronicle, a deduction born not of genius, but of absolute despair. The wall, their magnificent obsession, now mocks them. It stands almost complete, a monument to a victory that will never come. It has become the instrument of their doom. It kept them here, trapped them in this valley as the world changed around them, convincing them that safety could be built from stone. It has locked them in with their poison, or it stands before the final, 30-pace gap, the gateway they worked so hard to close. Now it represents the only path to escape. The irony is a physical weight, crushing the air from his lungs. He touches the cool, rough surface of a megalith his father helped set. A lifetime of effort, the work of generations, the central myth of their people, all rendered meaningless by a change in the wind and a sickness in the water. The great work is not a fortress, it is a tombstone. The decision is made in the predawn's stillness, in the silence between his son's ragged breaths. Orin stands at the mouth of the cave, the cool night air doing nothing to soothe the fever he feels in his own soul. He gathers the clan's remaining elders and hunters, their faces gaunt in the flickering torchlight. There is no debate. There is no counsel. He speaks a truth that they all know but have refused to name. The water is deaf, he says, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. We built it to keep death out, but we have sealed it in with us. He lets the words hang in the air. We leave at sunrise. The silence that follows is not one of shock, but profound collective grief. It is the sound of a dream dying. A young hunter, his face a mask of disbelief and anger, gestures back toward the monumental wall. Everything we are is in that stone. Orin's gaze is unwavering. If we stay, our bones will be all that is left to prove it. The exodus is a quiet, frantic affair. There's little to pack. They are leaving behind the heavy grinding stones, the bone tools, the ceremonial hides, the entire archaeology, sharpened spears, flint knives, and every water skin they possess, filled from a small, deep spring Kale had found high in the cliffs. Its water still pure. It is not enough. It is not enough. The sick, including Orin's own son, are bundled into slings and carried by the strongest of the hunters. This is the brutal calculus of forced migration. The weak are not a burden to be discarded, but a sacred responsibility that slows the entire group, a testament to the humanity they refuse to sacrifice. As the sun's first rays strike the top of the Great Wall, the clan shuffles through the final gap. They are a procession of ghosts leaving their own grave. Orin is the last to leave. He stops and turns, looking back at the magnificent, terrible structure that has defined his life. He sees the almost finished wall, a work of cyclopean masonry that should have been their salvation. He can almost see the spirits of his father and grandfather standing atop it, their faces etched with sorrow and confusion. He has broken the sacred promise of his lineage. This is his act of altruism, the ultimate sacrifice of a leader. He is killing his people's past to give them a chance at a future. He looks at the massive, perfectly fitted stones, a testament to a world that no longer exists, a monument to a climate that has abandoned them. He turns his back on the work of generations and does not look back, his face set toward the barren, unknown plains that now represent their only home. And so they walked away. Their unfinished wall would remain, a scar on the landscape, a question mark of stone for an unwritten future. For millennia, it would stand as a silent testament to a forgotten ambition, the piece of a story whose beginning and end were scoured away by the wind. These human ancestors were not a failure. In their heartbreaking choice, they demonstrated a wisdom greater than any structure they could build, the wisdom to know when a dream has become a cage, when a fortress has become a tomb. Their true legacy was not the wall they left behind, but the footprints they made in the dust leading away from it. This is the tragic, recurring lesson of human evolution, that our greatest creations can become our most dangerous traps, and that survival has often depended not on our ability to build, but on our courage to abandon. The greatest monuments are not the ones we build, but the ones we survive leaving behind. And in the growing dark, the first true storytellers learned to weave worlds from words, not stone.